Note well the one that I've singled out from that report, Tom Tanuki.
Thanks, Andy. Yeah, that's right, everyone. Andrew Bolt's talked about me again. It's for the second time this year, which is great news for general lefty points and all-round exposure. I won't talk too much. Let's get straight into the Andrew Bolt clip, and then afterwards we'll get into why it is that I've managed to get him to talk about me twice this year.
Tonight, an example of how social media activists manipulate the mainstream media, the willing parts of it, that is. Last week, we saw days of violent protests in Melbourne as Marxists and global warming extremists try to shut down a mining conference. Yet since that mayhem, left-wing papers like the Melbourne Age and the Guardian Australia and the ABC have attacked not the protesters, but the police. And here's the ABC in a report that quoted just two people, both of them activists of the far left. But note well the one that I've singled out from that report, Tom Tanuki, because I will come back to him in a little bit.
This is the picture prompting some to suggest there was racism within Victoria Police ranks. It was taken in the chaos and violence of this week's anti-mining protests in Melbourne, where officers were criticised for heavy-handed tactics. Left-wing activist Tom Tanuki was at the protest.
Some of us, myself and some anti-fascist researchers.
And joining me is Daisy Cousens, who's got her own YouTube channel and writes for The Spectator. Daisy, thank you so much for your time.
Sorry to interrupt, but I must say, very happy for Bolt to continue to talk about me in future, but I would prefer it if they didn't ask Daisy Cousens to talk about me. Really not a fan of the whole 1838 plantation owner's daughter, kind of cosplay, Jane Eyre, Pride and Prejudice sort of look, please.
It seems to me that the media is attacking these two police officers not for what they actually did.
Really, look at this thing that she's wearing. Now, I hate to shame her for her aesthetic, but this is the person who got into the news last year for saying that all lefties look weird and gross and only right-wingers are confident and are attractive. I mean, what is this person wearing? I'd like to alert you to this comment under one of her videos. Why does that lady wear those bad clothes all the time? Why does she? Why does she? That's the question, isn't it?
I know, it's fairly extraordinary, isn't it, Angie?
My friend Nadine Chemali said,
"Is that a sex thing? Like, surely that's a sex thing."
Thanks, Nadine. I don't know any more than you, mate.
Now, I said I'd get back to the Tom Tanuki, the far-left activist that the ABC uses as a source in that clip that I just showed. Daisy, this is exactly the same Tom Tanuki that the ABC earlier this year used as an example, on Four Corners, for instance, of a far-right extremist when he dressed up in neo-Nazi gear and paraded as a troll in a protest to help the media discredit a far-right group. Now, Daisy, how's that? The ABC using Tanuki in one report as an example of a fascist, and in the next using it as an example of an anti-fascist, without actually ever squaring that circle.
Oh my goodness, Andrew, I mean, this is a sort of bizarre situation. It's easy to laugh at, but really this is quite serious because this is an example of extremely sloppy reporting where whoever has put this together has simply not done their due diligence. And as for this left-wing activist, Tom Tanuki, I mean, obviously I'm not a fan of his views and I'm sure he's not a fan of mine.
No, well, Tom Tanuki, this activist chap, is having a great time trolling the ABC and they're falling for it one way or the other.
I just want to say a big thanks to Andy, and I want to address why it is that he's now talked about me twice this year. It's actually because I've paid him. And in fact, I've reached out to a lot of other people who've successfully accessed the services of Andrew Bolt to help expose them and to help forward their careers along. Let's hear from some of those people now and their great success stories.
Hello, my name's Djarmbi, and it's about time that I come clean about this. This has been weighing on my conscience for five or 6 years now, and it's feeling a bit heavy at this point. So I need to say that I actually paid Andrew Bolt not much, you know. It was a few steak dinners probably in his world, but I paid him to write a column about me.
G'day, my name's Ezekiel Ox and I'm a rock and roll singer, and I went down to protest one day against the homeless eviction that was happening in the middle of Melbourne. And on that day, Andrew Bolt from the Herald Sun wrote my name in an editorial, and the Herald Sun also put me on page 6. And I just want to say that on that day, my record label called me after the protest, and they said the publicist was on the phone and that they thought it would be cool if we paid, you know, Andrew Bolt to sort of run a bit of a thing on me in the Herald Sun. So we did that, and yeah, it went really well. So we got all this free publicity in the biggest paper in Melbourne. Yeah, and that's just because we don't really stand for anything. You know, we just sort of, it's all about promotion. It's not really about anything. It's not about homeless people or, you know, mining or, you know, refugees or, you know, anti-fascism. It's not about any of that stuff. It's just about getting our names in the paper. And I just want to say thanks for, you know, invoicing us. Thanks a lot. And yeah, thanks, Andrew.
There was a contract involved. Basically, his people contacted me with like a pro forma kind of template, you know, that says, you know, that I will do these things. And, you know, it was my idea to make memes about him saying, I hope that he has a daughter and she marries a black man, and I hope that the lumps on his face were cancer and all that. Like, that was my idea, but they liked that, you know, because it was definitely in line with the brand.
Oh, hello, I didn't see you there. Hi, I'm Joanna, and I was torn to shreds on the Bolt report several times in 2018 and 19. Once for suggesting that the government and News Limited had blood on their hands post-Christchurch massacre due to years of racial vilification of Muslim people in this fine country of ours, Australia. However, as my comrade Tom suggests, as is the case with all leftists, we're in much dire need of attention, and I did in fact bribe Mr. Bolt to talk about me on his program. I was trying to impress a guy in Antifa. Thanks, Andy.
So I posted those things, you know, and I spent a few weeks on social media, generally just mocking him, and didn't take much pleasure in it because I think that it's probably just a bit childish, you know, the way lefties go on, like mocking people. Like, it kind of just makes you just as bad as Nazis, in my opinion. Like, teasing people and laughing at their ideologies is it's just horrible violence. It's the same thing. So it was a tough time for me to get through it, but luckily he was made good on his word, and he wrote an article about me and, you know, published all sorts of information, and basically rallied his troops to stalk me and attack me for several weeks.
This is Serkan, Ozturk, publisher of True Crime News Weekly. Now, in 2008, I lost my job as a media monitor after sending some funny and satirical emails to a bunch of right-wing racist shock jocks here in Sydney like Alan Jones, Ray Hadley and Chris Smith. After I lost my job, Andrew Bolt wrote an article for the Herald Sun webpage on his blog calling me a racist and someone who sends abusive emails to innocent media personalities. Now, you would have thought that I would have been disappointed or saddened by this and angered, but in fact, I was the one who paid Andrew Bolt a grand sum of $876 all in gold coins to write the article, to thrust me into media stardom, and one day start True Crime News Weekly and bring down Australia's Deputy Prime Minister, Barnaby Joyce. Thank you, Andrew. You're a true patriot.
You know, there was even international, like, white supremacist websites had coverage about me, and it was really cool because basically the desired effect was that I was dropping an album around that time, and basically just I got heaps of followers on Twitter especially, and my Bandcamp stats just fucking shot through the roof that week. I mean, most of the activity was like people had started playing every single song and not listened to the whole thing, but the stats were still pretty good. Like I basically, you know, that's what I asked for and that's what I got. I still am not famous or anything like that, but I guess it was what was right for me at the time.
Hi Andrew, I just wanted to say a big thank you. All that money that I gave you all those years ago, it seems to have paid off, because when you ragged me after my testimony to the Child Abuse Royal Commission in 2015, an even greater spotlight was put on your mate George, and he was convicted for raping a boy in the face. So thanks very much, Andrew. It's good to see that money works, and keep up that child abuse apology stuff, because more and more kids keep coming out of the woodwork with allegations against your best rape mate Georgie boy. Just in case he does beat his current charges against him and he gets out of jail, there'll be cops there to arrest him at his press conference. Thanks again, Andrew. Keep up the good work, mate.
It actually feels really good to say it. Like, it's not like I'm a faker or anything like that. Like, I'm genuinely this person. Like, this is me. Like, I don't talk shit, but yeah, he wouldn't have known who I was if I hadn't have reached out and, you know, and got it. It's a bit like Fiverr, like, you know, the website Fiverr, where you pay fuck all and you get someone to do a job for you. It's a bit like that. And yeah, like, I would actually encourage anyone else who's trying to sort of get popular, especially with like the left or radicals or blackfellas or, you know, pretty much anyone who's not a piece of shit.
Andy's team actually reached out to me and they said, you know, you obviously achieved newsworthy status here. Would you know, like to access one of our packages? And I said, oh, that would be great. So I only have the money at the moment. You know, I checked the bank account. I've only got the money to access the basic package. And they said, oh, well, no, we'll upgrade you. And said, we'll even throw in another conservative commentator for free. Now, if I'd have known that other conservative commentator was Daisy Cousins, I probably would have said, nah, let's just keep it bold, because she's so cringe that it's. I guess the important thing for me was to keep the conversation going about Vic Pol brutality, and you know, I wondered if it was waning a little bit. So I thought, well, you know, even though Andrew Bolt makes everything all about him, and you know, this sort of weird little disingenuous point scoring stuff, I thought, well, no, this will keep it in the news. We'll get it on Sky News, get people checking my pages. He reached out to me when I told him I was going to do this, and he said, oh, well, you know, would you like to take this further? Would you like me to angrily react to this video that you're doing right now? And I sort of thought to myself, I said, oh, maybe you could sort of like threaten to sue me for defamation, you know, all of us or something like that. And then I thought, oh no, hang on. The video's clearly a satire of your disingenuousness for profit, so it actually wouldn't stand up in court. And not even more so now that I've just declared that the intent's satire. Hey, fuck. I mean, look at the Friendly Geordies Clive Palmer thing. That probably won't go to court, but it's been great for Friendly Geordies. I love him. God bless you, Andy. I really appreciate everything that you do for lefties around Australia, and can't recommend his services enough. Just reach out to the Sky News Australia page.